Hey, I'm Jade Keogh.
And hello from me too, I'm Grace Seeley.
We both play for the Millwall Lionesses and are sponsored by the No One Likes Us talking team.
Why not sponsor one of our teammates just like they do?
To find out how, just email
kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
I'll say that again.
kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
In your email, say who you want to sponsor and we'll get back to you with the sponsorship details and what to do next.
This is all you have to do and it will help us to get back to where we belong. Thank you, guys.
Now, enjoy our Millwall fan show from No One Likes Us talking team.
Come on, Mir.
Hi, Bethany Warren here, and you've joined us for the weekly Our Millwall fan show with the Millwall No One Likes Us talking team. Enjoy!
Welcome to the 2022-23 series of Millwall No One Likes Us Talking's update show. I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Debbie Julians, Phil Coleman and Ted Robinson.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Well, we do really. During the World Cup, we're just doing a shorter update show. Well, hopefully we are. Anyway, let's say hello, Debbie. How are you?
Hello, I'm very well.
That's good.
Hello
That's
to
nice
all.
to know. Hello to all, yes. Hello, Phil, and how are you?
Hi, everyone. Yep, doing fine. Busy as ever, but yeah, all good, thank you.
You can't beat being busy. And hi, Ted, and how are you?
Fine, Eamon. Thank you very much, and good evening to Debbie and Phil.
Yeah.
Same to you guys.
That's wonderful. It's nice to know we're all friendly here tonight. Being as it's a friendly sort of evening, I thought we'd just mention Tony Craig, who managed to complete his 700 league games on Tuesday night, playing against his old mate's side, Gillingham, down at Crawley. So I would imagine Tony and Neil probably had a celebration drink on that one, I reckon. Yeah, 700 league games. Well done, Tony Craig. Debbie, you have something to say about Bethany, who we heard at the front end of the show, and who we've missed for a number of weeks.
Yes, I do. Bethany has asked me to read something, so hopefully I'll get through this. So bear with me. She's thanked us very much for this. Back on Saturday, on the 8th of October, there was a tragic accident on the A2. Unfortunately, 2 young people lost their lives. The young woman who lost her life was my best friend. And this is on behalf of Bethany, and her best friend was Becky. Becky was what could only be described as a whirlwind. She had a smile that lit up a room, and energy that not even I could attempt to match. I'd known her for 16 years, and from that day we met, we became best friends. She even came to me to watch Millwall when my dad couldn't make it. She had such a blast and was looking forward to doing it again. She called where I sit, the colourful language block. She was too polite, but she loved it. I'm filled with immense sadness. I can't just pick up that phone and speak to her anymore. To take this opportunity on this platform to say thank you to her for being an incredible friend and a sister to me. If I've learned anything from this, it's time with your loved ones. Hug them tightly, kiss them a little longer, and make each day count. Thank you, Becky. Until we meet again, I love you to infinity and beyond. Rest in peace in your wonderland. Thank you.
How
Bethany.
lovely. How lovely.
Beautiful words.
Yeah, that was nice.
Well done, Debbie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lovely words, Bethany. Well,
It's lovely words, Bethany, and sorry if I got emotional, but that was
No,
for
you
darling.
mustn't apologise for being emotional. It's what happens. That's okay.
Well,
Thanks.
Bethany is a lovely girl too. So.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see her back, hear her back on the show in the not too distant future.
Absolutely.
All right, here's all thinking of Becky. OK, we'll take a break there and hear about our sponsor G&M Motors. And again, that's from Debbie Julians.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by family business G&M Motors of Gravesend and Meopham in Kent. They are Millwall fans too. They've been Honda dealers for over 50 years. At G&M Motors Gravesend you can purchase a new Honda. At both Gravesend and Meopham they have a combined range of over 150 quality used cars and ex-demonstrators to suit all budgets and lifestyles. They also offer a comprehensive range of repair and maintenance services to ensure your vehicle stays reliable, safe and retains a higher value with trust. G&M Motors, Gravesend and Meopham are dear friends of the Julians family. From Lenny to Debbie and also our Millwall Fan Show.
But I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I'm No One Likes a Talking Team, Debbie Julians, Phil Coleman and Ted Robinson. We are most grateful to our sponsor, G&M Motors, who are celebrating 50 years of trading. There's no Millwall games last weekend with the EFL World Cup break, so tonight we're going to examine Millwall's start to the 2022-23 season, which sees us in 6th place in the Championship going into the break after playing 20 games and having obtained 31 points. We also have a game in hand on every side in the Championship, top 10. It's almost strange that we're considering this when a couple of shows ago I was hearing that we weren't going anywhere and we had no hope. But there you go, life changes. So let's hear what the panel have to say. Phil, what about your thoughts on the tactics and style of play employed by Gary Rowett in coming through these first 20 games?
When you said that, Eamonn, I thought to myself, there were fans saying we're getting relegated in April. Well, that's what I read anyway.
You're right.
So, on the reverse of that, it's a very long, tough season. You've got 46 league games. You've got a couple of games in a cup, unless you have an extended run. You've got your pre-season matches, and these players are going to be playing 50-plus matches. The best players will play 50-plus matches. I think in Gary Rowett, you've got a manager that thinks the long game. It's probably a big factor in his decision-making when he signs these players, because he's got to get them through from the start of pre-season, get them up to speed, right the way through to May. I've personally thought for a couple of seasons now that Gary Rowett actually plays the long game. For somebody to rotate players and leave your best defender out in September, I can't think of another reason why. And it's no coincidence, I think, the last 2 seasons, I'm sure you guys will correct me, we've had a very good second half, last quarter of the season.
Yeah.
We've got new players in. The squad is infinitely better than it was a year or 2 ago. The new players have definitely taken time to settle in. They've got to come in from abroad, Germany, Holland. They've got to understand the environment. They've got to understand their teammates, the style of play, the demands of the league, which is tough. I would probably say it is the toughest Step 2 competition in the world. Only in this league you get 30,000 and everybody can beat everybody. So it is tough. It takes time. It takes time to gel. And I think they will get better and better. And also, you've got to look after the young ones, because obviously the likes of Cresswell have come in. We've got our own grown players in the side. So there's a real start of the season, pre-season building. And I think it's beginning to just settle in. Certainly Flemming's going to catch all the headlines. But it's taken time. And I wouldn't underestimate the fact that we played the top teams in the first, 7, 8, 10 games. And that would have been a baptism of fire, because they've got the parachute payments.
Yeah.
And we can go back to myself and Tony Cascarino talking about how ridiculous it is that one team could get 40 million for being relegated, maintain their best players, and they probably would beat Millwall on a good day. And they are eventually going to be at the top. The money sits at the top of just about every league. You get the odd exception at Huddersfield. But we're in there. And we're in there, and I think we're growing. I wouldn't get carried away with a 4-2 win away from Preston, because in this league, and I've said it time and time again, everybody can beat everybody. The bottom team can beat the top team. But ultimately, over 46 league games in a long season, it defines itself. The worst teams will be at the bottom. The money and the best teams and the best players will probably be at the top. Style of play, you mentioned, Eamonn. That's been criticised by some fans, but when Gary Rowett wins a game, he's right. When he loses, he's wrong and he gets criticised. It's the manager's decision. It's up to him. 4-4-2 is no more. It's rare. 3-5-2, unless you're Manchester City playing 2 at the back, 3 in midfield and 5 in the penalty area. So times have evolved. The styles of play have evolved. It's professional football. It's about winning a bloody game, collecting points by hook or by crook, often by not getting beat. That's the game, winning points. We want entertainment. We all want to turn up and see 5-4 to Millwall and everybody goes home, wow, what a great game. That's not sometimes the case. They're dour, but they're effective. You pick up a 1-0. Nobody criticised Brian Clough back in the 70s and 80s when he was winning 1-0 and winning European titles and leagues because we defend, we keep a clean sheet. If we score 1, we win 1-0. And he built his team around Peter Shilton, Larry Lloyd, and these strong defensive units. So I would probably say I don't care too much about the formation and the tactics. Yes, I'd love some attacking and open flowing football, but it's about individuals working hard on the pitch, playing well, gelling together, all playing as a team, performing better together, and winning the points. And if it's a draw, it's a draw. It all adds up. I would probably say that there are objectives for me, and most managers would say, let's stay in the league. That's the first objective. Let's build on last season, and let's build on the positives. Let's try and finish higher. Let's bring in better players. And bit by bit, you grow your team. Unless you've got millions, tens and 20s of millions, you're never going to throw money at players. And so it's got to be done properly. It's got to be done bit by bit. And obviously within budgets, or you end up with a Derby County. Overall, first 21 games and pre-season, I've seen a change. Gary Rowett is definitely not afraid of changing the team. He's changed formations. He's left players out. He's brought them back in. So it's interesting times for me in a very tough league where everyone can beat everybody. So for me, I think it's been a good start, good 20 games for the season. What now needs to happen is stay fit, stay free of injuries. Everybody recovers. Particularly, I think this is great for having this 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off for the World Cup. But we can't have any injuries, although we have got a better bench these days, a better squad. Suspensions and all the partnerships that matter come together. So the centre-backs working together, the goalkeeper understanding the back four, the wingers and the strikers and all these partnerships. So if it all stays fit, it all stays together, you just keep building. But I will say this, Eamonn, and the panel, in this league, not one player, not one defender, nobody can switch off because the opposition will hurt you. And I think we got our butt kicked at Hull. So every single game matters for the next half of the season. So I don't think we can afford to switch off in any way, shape or form. So, but all in all, for me, it's been interesting. And as I say, I see the club growing. People are now talking to us as an established championship side, and we're in the top half of the table on a regular basis. Well, that says it all. That says it all for me. So that's my starting point.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Phil. Thanks for that. Yeah, I think what you said there sums up a lot of the things that are really positive about where we've been and where we're going. He's got a couple of games lined up before we get back to playing Sunderland on the 3rd, and we've got Bromby at the weekend and an unnamed team behind closed doors on the following Tuesday. Meanwhile, Sunderland are only having one game out in Dubai on Friday.
Eamonn, that says it all. Sunderland can go to Dubai and play a top side over there.
Yeah.
And we stay at home in the rain and the cold.
Yeah.
And have a Bromby travel to us or behind closed doors. There's different ways of coming back after a break. I would probably say if it was me in charge, have a week off, go and spend time with your family, switch off physically, switch off mentally, let all the lactic acid and the bruises and all those little tiny tears, the groin strains, get rid of it all and let's come back everybody fighting fit. Do you really need to travel to Dubai? As much as I'd love the sun and a nice trip, I'd probably prefer to stay at home.
Yeah. So. Let's have some more of that. Ted, the squad Gary Rowett has assembled, do you think it's fit for purpose or do you think there is still something missing?
Well, I certainly think it's fit for purpose. I said at the start of the season, like Phil was just saying now, I think it's the strongest squad, probably the strongest squad we've had for a while. The one or two ones that come in from abroad, like Flemming and Voltshammer, you have to give them a bit of time to settle in and whatever. And I think both of them have done really well, considering the short amount of time they've been in the Championship. They've settled in pretty well. And I think that the proof is there. I mean, the fact is we're 6th in the table, which is better than we've been doing the last few years. We tend to be stronger in the second half. I think we've been watching this side come together, if I'm honest, in this 20 games, because we've had one or two shuffling around. I mean, George Honeyman seems to have been one that's got left out of it for a while, but is now making his way back into it. Shackleton's performed here and there. Creswell, he had a little bit of a rocky spell, but he will do. He's a young lad learning his trade, and we brought Hutch back in, which gives us the experience, and now Creswell's come back in again and looks the part again. So all the new members to the squad have all come in and are all doing their bit, if you know what I mean. But I just think it took Rowett a little bit of time to settle down with the team and how he see the team developing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We've also had, I'm still think to myself, well, last year our main goal scorer was Bennett Gafobi, and he hasn't fired so far this year. So I think all in all we can be pleased with what's been going on, and I totally agree with Phil the way he was describing Gary Rowett. It's always, he's a marathon man, and he runs marathons. He knows the season's a marathon, it's not a sprint. We've managed to get ourselves into a sort of position that has got me very excited, because I think there's still a lot more to come from this side. I think we can get better. We tend to get stronger. The funny thing is, because we've got this spell now where we've got no football because of the World Cup, people are already starting to look at the January window and whatever, but they always do that. When you're in the position that Millwall's in, people are saying, should we bring someone in to help us get even better or closer to the automatic things, or if you're down near the bottom, it's can we get someone in to save us from relegation, But I'm sure Gary Rowett's been looking at players that he thinks could add to the squad coming in January, and I don't doubt it'd be like any other January window where there may be one or two go out and one or two come in. But I think he must be happy already seeing the way that this team's developing. And there's more to come from Voltshammer, there's more to come from Flemming, although he's getting the headlines at the moment, but he's just showing the quality that the guy's got, So, coming back to the original question about is the basically the squad fit for purpose, and in fact purpose is getting into playoffs, I from this position now in the season, I see no reason why we can't. And I see no reason why we can't even push on to even actually have a push at the top two, because as Phil quite rightly says, there's not a lot in this division, and we've played a lot of the big boys already. And, I think if we stick to what we've been doing, there's no reason why we can't get better in the second half of the season. If we get better in the second half of the season, we win more games, which means we're going to be in them playoff positions at the very least.
Yeah, points make prizes. Yeah, it's interesting. The squad is there, and someone said the other week that what we've got is we've got a bench full of potential coming on and playing. Not people just to fill the gaps.
There's a saying, isn't there, Eamonn, you're only as good as your bench.
That's right.
And with that in mind, that means that the players that are going out there in the first 11 starting and that, and Phil knows this better than me, be looking over your shoulder if there's a player sitting on the bench waiting to come on who's been impressing in training and wants your position, that spurs you on to be more confident in your game and making a point you imagine you're going to be there. So you're right. If we look at a bench game in, game out now, I see players in there that can make a difference, or I see players in there that I'll be quite happy that would be starting. So that makes it a stronger squad.
It certainly does.
Ted, you're sorry, but Ted, you're so right. You mentioned players in and out, and Gary Rowett sees these players every day in training. He sees what they eat for breakfast. He sees how tired they are. He sees how sharp they are in training. He sees if they're carrying anything in terms of a niggle or an injury. And I think that's a big factor in his team selections. Along with, now that squad has been assembled and there is competition for places. And I can tell you, who would have thought Piatkowski would have been left out for Long?
No.
Yeah.
But if Long's doing well, Bart ain't coming back. So there's competition for the goalkeeper slot. And if you keep that competition going and a manager, keep the shirt if you play well, give 100%. I've been at clubs where the manager's favourite 11 played, regardless if the substitute came on and had a fantastic game. That's wrong. It demoralises the bench. I feel that with Gary Rowett, if you play well, you keep the shirt. And also, last thing for me is they've also got experience. There's a lot of experience on that pitch. Yes, there's a McNamara, and yes, there's a few youngsters coming through in Cresswell, etc. But there's an awful lot of experience on that pitch, and trust me, that is priceless if you want to go for the top end of the table.
And there's the learning thing there, Phil, isn't it? Like, when you look at Hutch when he came back in for Cresswell, I'm sure Gary Rowett was saying to Cresswell, because he'd been having a little bit of a rocky ride. There you go. There's your standard. That's what you should be up to. When you get your chance and get back out there, I want to see you putting performances in like that. And to be fair to the boy, since he's come back, I actually think he's a very, very good player. He's got a full season's exposure to Championship football, but that also means things like Phil was saying. If you go out the side, you've got to knuckle down in training and show him in training that you want to be back in it. Yeah. And, we all know how consistently good Sean Hutchinson can be, so he's got a battle for himself,
I've been on the end of what Cresswell's been on the end of. I was 18, 19, 20 years old under Jules Petchy, and you play 3-4 good games and you think, and he leaves you out. And you knock on the manager's door, what you leave me out for? You're 19, trust me. You're 20, trust me. You have to trust the manager, because young players, they burn out. You need 3 or 4 games, drop him out for a few weeks. Bring him back in again when there's an injury, play him 5 or 6 games, drop him out. Over the course of the season, you're in and out the side, but you're learning your trade without being battered every week. Hutch can take the batterings. He knows what he's doing. A Cresswell needs to be brought in, dropped out again. I didn't get that as a 19, 20, 21-year-old. I hated being dropped out. But when you've got a manager that puts an arm around you and says, I'm leaving you out the side here, but here's a 4-year contract, I'll trust you. So I've been on the end of that Cresswell bit, and I think it's invaluable that he comes in and he's dropped out from time to time.
It is.
Absolutely.
I'm going to move on to Debbie now. The man they call the Bermondsey Bergkamp, Zian Flemming, particularly seen as a bit of a pin-up player by some of the fan base, but who has become a genuine favourite all round.
Why is he asking you this question, Deb? Why is he asking you this question?
What about his impact on the pitch? Well, I tell you, someone who seems to have a great affinity with him. She used to think the same of old Steve Morrison. I'll let that live in your memory banks. What about his impact on the pitch then, Debbie?
Well, Zian. He is. He could be the next James Bond in my book, but there you go.
Right, there we are.
Well, he's 24, isn't he? He's come from Fortuna Sittard, and that was for 1.7 million, a club record. In the summer, he didn't start at all with early games, and his appearance, he is a rarity. He's physically fit athlete with fair hair, of course, who can dance around the pitch with ease. No wonder some of the people find him appealing. He came from an academy that I'm not going to try and pronounce it at all, but when it translates into English, it actually means the future.
Yes.
So his combination of power and skill is a big plus for us because you don't see that in many players. It's quite unique. He is very, very good for the team, and he gels, and they're following suit with him. So they're really gelling together with him, and he's got great personality off the pitch, with all joking aside as well. So that helps with gelling with the other teams. He's looking a very exciting prospect. There's just 1 goal shy of the 9 top scorers in the Championship this season. Those top scorers are tied at the top with 9 Championship goals. Flemming's ability to find dangerous areas and get his shots off is reflected in his numbers and his game in the handover of most of them.
I'm glad you say shots there, Debbie. That was good.
Yeah. Well, it was, wasn't it? He's a former Ajax player and has taken the 52 shots so far this season, twice as many as any other Millwall player, 20 of them on target and only 10 blocked. He potentially has got a lot more as well within him, and he's what a talent. Go boy, go.
Yeah, go boy, go.
Just going to say, he's certainly, in my opinion, the little bit of quality that you need to get out of this division. I mean, as we always say, it's about quality at the end of the day that gets your team up there. And the two goals in particular, not the free kick against Preston, but the other two goals, the way he moved the ball to give himself the space to shoot was pure quality to see in the Championship. And as I say, he seems, what I like about him, apart from the fact he's got quality, he seems like an intelligent footballer as well. You know, and I think he's just slowly but surely sussing out what goes on. But as I say, we're talking about Flemming, but I wouldn't leave Voltzhammer out of this because he has a couple of assists, and I think he will just get better and better. He's a little bit behind Zian Flemming, I think, in understanding the Championship. But you know, I just see them two getting better and better as the season goes on, as they more and more into it, you know. But Flemming has got that little bit of star quality, I think.
Yeah.
He's very level-headed, and he's strong with it, and he's very tenacious. I did want to say about his hat trick against Preston North End as well. Superb. But I will add in a little bit. I got a bit of information today that back in 1964, November the 7th, versus Halifax. My dad, Lenny, he got a hat trick. He got 3, and then Barry and Billy got the other 2, so it was 5-1.
So that's Barry Ryan and Billy Neal, eh? God,
yeah.
Nice. There you go.
So, but I think it's very promising. I think he's great for the team as a team player and as a team altogether.
Well, let's see how many more hat-tricks we get this season. I think you can get good odds on getting 3 lots of hat-tricks.
I will say as well with Zian Flemming, if you're watching the warm-up at home game and at 10-3, everybody goes in.
Yeah.
Not Zian Flemming. He stays out and he hits 2 or 3 30-yard free kicks. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. And these free kicks are dead straight, and they are Ronaldo type, dead straight dipping under the bar. And he just puts 2 or 3 of these in before he jogs off at 10-3. This guy's going to hit free kicks in the top corner. Yeah. This guy will find space. What needs to happen is the rest of the teammates need to get on his wavelength. He works hard. He closes people down. He's not afraid of putting in the dirty work, but he's got a Teddy Sheringham type knack of finding space, getting on the ball. He's got a wicked free kick, as I've mentioned. And he seems to have the ball stuck to his foot at times. Yeah. He's an all-round player. I'm going to make a comment now, and fans can have a go. I think Flemming is better than Wallace that we've just Jed Wallace.
I'd agree with you.
And that's in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
And my only problem, sorry, Debbie, my only issue is keeping hold of him.
Yeah.
Now, I know he's on a 2-year, 3-year contract, but people are going to go, well, hang on, look at what Millwall are doing. What are they doing? Let's go and have a look. Oh, it's Flemming. Because he stands out like a sore thumb with quality. Now, if Millwall players can get the ball to him, we play off of him, he scores goals from us. Yeah. So it's that connection with him, and I think it's beginning to happen.
Yeah. It's I never like to compare other players with each other. But it's so true that he's come in. And people are a bit, well, who's Wallace? And bless, may go forth and have a great career. But Flemming is fantastic, and that is our only danger of him possibly going elsewhere.
And I will say this as well, Debbie. When you start putting in combinations and partnerships and patterns, you start putting in Bennett and possibly Bradshaw and Flemming. These are exciting players that can score goals and create goals. But I talk about in coaching a disconnect in the final third. Does the cross go far post? Does it get pulled back from the dead ball line? When you get that, Mason Bennett is and I like Leonard. Get these guys fit, stick them in the team, because I think these players have got the ability to open up defences, which is the toughest job in football. We've got 2 or 3 there that have got the potential to do that. When you have that, you've got a chance of scoring goals. But Flemming, he excites me because he's just got that quality.
Yeah,
and he excites the other players too, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they can see someone they can play balls to and he makes some success out of it, well, it boosts them up as well. I mean, when you look at what's going on, it is fantastic. Someone said to me the other day, and you mentioned it there, this is the first bloke that's looked like anything since we realistically had Teddy Sheringham playing. Albeit they did give Sadler, they mentioned him as well, but they said he didn't get through, his hip went, and that was that. But Teddy Sheringham is the comparison. So
one thing there, Eamonn, that Phil mentioned, and 100% right. If you look at the work rate of Flemming, you know, he's not afraid to do the dirty work, and Voltsan would come to that.
Yeah.
You know, they seem to have bought into the thing that Gary Rowett demands of his players, which is obviously that you get back and defend when you have to. And they seem to be all up for that. And they have got an infectious enthusiasm, the pair of them as well. And I'll say it's been softly at the moment, but I can see it getting bigger and better in the second half of the season. Fingers crossed.
That is testament to Gary Rowett's recruitment and his opinion of a player. Because when I said at my opening comments, it's 46 league games and cups. When you sign a player, you want them to work hard for 90 minutes. You want them to work hard every single game. And I see every single player doing that. Including your star man Flemming, if you want to call him a star man, including Mason Bennett getting back, including Voltsan. These guys are work. And to me, Gary Rowett takes an awful lot of praise from me for the type of player that he's bringing in. Not only do they work hard, they do the horrible side of football, but they also give you the stuff going forward and that little bit of quality. So recruitment is a massive factor. And I think 1.7 million, as Debbie said, might be cheap in the longer run.
Yeah.
And Rowett's been after him for over 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he had his eye on him and bided his time and then eventually got there. So it's exciting times ahead.
Our biggest problem is that we haven't got all night to talk about all of the players. And realistically, there's so many of them that have been putting in fantastic shifts. They all deserve a good pat on the back for the way they've been playing. Perhaps we'll draw a few more names into the hat when we're on the show again in the not too distant future. Anyhow, we'll take a break there and listen to Debbie Julians and Harvey Brown talking about the Lions Food Hub.
Let's hear from Harvey Brown.
Have you heard of the Lions Food Hub? That Millwall Lioness, Kelly Webster, is involved. Don't forget to help the Lions Food Hub if you can. Thank you.
As Harvey said, they need your support. If you can help, and you can make a one-off or a regular monetary donation at Banquet, that is BANKUET. You will find them online. Insert www.banquet.co.uk/Lions Food Hub into your browser. I'll say that again. www.banquet.co.uk/Lions Food Hub. And the Lions Food Hub is all one word. On match days, you can make food and toiletry donations at the Lions Food Hub, which is opposite the 1885 bar at the Cold Blow Lane end of the ground. Alternatively, you can also contact the team via the Lions Food Hub Twitter or Facebook sites.
Well, there you go. I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I've no one likes us talking to him with Debbie Julians, Phil Coleman and Ted Robinson. Energy and food poverty is rising beyond our wildest dreams. Well, from more than 12 months ago, and will not decrease but increase again, sadly. However, your kindness will be much appreciated and lessen the burden on the many families at risk. Right, let's hear from Ellis Barr. Is she getting ready for Christmas? Well, I don't know. We haven't seen too many videos lately. Keep us posted on what you're up to, Ellis. But here she is now.
Ellis here. Thank you for watching my videos. Now to hear what the Millwall Lionesses and Romans have been up to, and to hear who is next up for Gary Rowett and the Lions. Come on, Millwall!
Yeah, come on, Millwall. Well, as you know, Ellis, the Lions aren't in action till the 3rd of December in the league, but there is a game against Bromby at the weekend. Let's watch out for that one. Anyway, I caught up with Paul Loding, who is the Millwall Romans and Pride General Manager, and here's what he had to say.
Hi all, it's Paul Loding over at the Millwall Romans with a quick update on the weekend. Following obviously from our glorious victory against Village Manchester, I think the Romans certainly went into the game looking confident. We had a couple of players back that we were missing the previous week, and the tactics were to go out and play our game and almost overplay. It was a very different sort of game against Manchester, whereas Soho Freedom, we've played them before. We're quite confident going into the game, but I think we sort of used it as a, let's play, go back to how we do play, playing it out from the back, creating options for each other, etc. It seemed to go very well. So I say our tactic was to keep it, keep playing our game. We do like playing it out from the back. We're still setting up with the 3-5-2 with the 3 centre backs, which again seems to be working quite well. And the game just played really well. We knocked it around nice. Soho Freedom, give them their credit, have come on massively over the last 2 years. Considering I think the first season we actually beat them 26-0. So it was a better result for them. We only managed to score 11 this time with a hat trick. Sorry, four goals from Jay Lamonius up front, 2 from centre back Nick Duffy. And I do have to mention a very bad miss from myself after sprinting 50 yards from our penalty box into the opposition penalty box. A lovely squared ball from Jay, which managed to hit the gardens over the back somehow. It wasn't my best occasion.
Yeah, I think I'll have to get you one of them mufflers as well. You might sound a bit better next time round. But I suppose that's quite good, isn't it, really? That sort of score and what's going on, Paul. And I do know that Millwall Pride played Soho Freedom 2 and drew 2-2 with them. So 2 good results, the Millwall teams there. Jeff Burnige was reporting on the Lionesses game against Maidstone in the Kent Cup at the weekend for our partners Maritime Radio. And here is what he had to say.
This is Jeff Burnige on Millwall Lionesses. The Lionesses progressed to the semi-finals of the Kent County Cup this weekend when their opponents, Maidstone United, were obliged to withdraw. This gave the Lionesses a valuable weekend off after the heartbreak and strenuous efforts of last Sunday in the FA Cup tie with Gillingham. In the quarter-finals, Dartford defeated Ashford United, Aylesford knocked out Herne Bay, and favourites Gillingham came through against Ebbsfleet. So there could yet be a repeat of the Millwall versus Gillingham thriller from last week to look forward to. Millwall left it to the under-18 side to contest the Capital Cup tie with Tower Hamlets' first team, and they duly came through that 5-2 at Hackney Marshes. A brilliant performance by that very promising group from the academy. Millwall's first team will be back at St Paul's Sports Ground next Sunday with another big league game, this time with Fulham. Kick-off for this one, 3 p.m.
A 3 p.m. kick-off against Fulham. Now, that's one of the sides that is absolutely likely to feature at the top end of the table. Apart from them being a challenging side and a great game to be seen down at St Paul's, get along if you can. But Debbie, another tie against Gillingham is likely. And I say likely because they're probably the strongest of the 3 other sides. And if we don't meet them in the semis, I suspect we'll meet them in the final. So will lessons be learned, do you think?
Oh, and didn't they learn a lesson? It was, they played such extra time, made so much effort. One moment we were up, one moment they were in. They did so well. So we're quite not too sure of how we go forward for the quarterfinals there. So it's possible Dartford. We did have, they beat us last year in the League Cup, and that again went into extra time. And Alsford, if we do play them, that should be an easy, well, nothing's easy, a comfortable win, hopefully. The girls are powering on, and to come against Gillingham, it would be nice if they actually come across them in the final, because the last week, if that was a final, what a final it would have been. They've done so well.
It's a shame last week, because financially the Lionesses would have gained £6,000 if they'd won that tie last week.
Yeah.
Even if they went to the next round, they would have got £2,000 as a minimum for appearances. So it's a big old lump of money they lost out on there. I think they've got the passion and the strength to go through. But we'll see.
Definitely.
We'll see what happens. Ted, Millwall Romans have already won their first ever Football for All Cup under the London FA, defeating West Ham along the way. In that GFSM Cup, as Paul mentioned, we learnt that they beat the team from Manchester, with whom they've struggled over the years, in the semi-final against Yorkshire, actually. We heard the result against Soho. There is one trophy in their pocket. Could it be 2 or even 3 this season? Well, the GFSN and also the league, and Jay Lamonius is scoring for fun again. What do you reckon?
There's no reason why not, Eamonn. I mean, like with any football team, when you get that sort of, which you've got a side there that always were a bit of a bogey side to them in Manchester, and they've won, they've beaten them, they've done that. Now that should give them the momentum to go forward and believe in themselves for the rest of the season, that they can go on and win everything else, basically, because sometimes you see that one side that comes out that you think, oh no, not them. We know we're as good as them, if not better, but for some reason, for whatever reason, there's that sort of thing you just cannot get past. But hopefully, now they've gone through that, they can go on from strength to strength from there, and there's no reason why they shouldn't pick up the 3 trophies, because they're a confident bunch anyway, and they're always playing well. And to be quite honest, they really seem like there's 3, maybe 4 sides that they I say have problems with, but give them a real good game, if you know what I mean. So I see no reason why the Romans can't win all 3, to be quite honest, and hopefully that would be that little bit extra confidence boost of beating Manchester as they did.
Yeah, big time.
That will make them go forward. And one last thing before I sort of finish here, Eamonn, just about the Lionesses. My word, that's something to aim for. Gillingham in a Kent Cup final would be to use the heartbreak of last week to give them that enthusiasm, passion, desire to go and turn that over. I mean, I'm sure Jack Wheeler's got all the girls up for that in that sort of sense, but let's hope it goes their way and they avoid them in the semis and get them in the final. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely
Well, it's
brilliant.
Jack's old team as well, of course.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Phil, you're a coach with a footballing pedigree that started with Millwall, as we undoubtedly know. And your son is out in the States coaching too. The Millwall Community Trust have footballing arrangements for all. The Premier League Kicks programme, which they won, earned a Millwall Academy trial for one of their players. And he's not been the only one. At the player pathway programmes that are run with Peter Sweeney at Sevenoaks and Tim Sells, who runs the one from the Lions Centre, plus the Second Chance Academy for 16 to 24-year-olds. The MCT appear to have effective routes to access the men and women's sides that we and others have. What are your thoughts on these offerings to young people?
Yeah, I'm not totally up to speed, Eamonn, with those setups that you mentioned, but any pathway is absolutely great for me because I came through a traditional route, school, district, county. The clubs were hanging around the county matches looking at the players. You go in and do your apprenticeship and sign pro. But now there are far more openings for players. I created an alternative pathway for 16 to 19-year-olds at my college.
And we've got anywhere between 50 and 100 boys and girls now in the college, training 3 or 4 times a week and playing every Wednesday. All we've done is mirrored the academy setups, but we're doing it for those that didn't quite make it. Yes, we've had some picked up at 18 years old. Rob Harvey, he signed a pro contract with Millwall a couple of years ago. He came through my college. I think he had a year as a pro and then moved out. And also my son, he was a pro. Nasty knee injury meant he went off and coached in America. He was a youngster, 14, he had Manchester United trials, but the injury stopped him playing. So he went off to coach in America. He's been out there 10 years.
Yeah.
And he decided to set up his own academy. He's literally got his own business. He's got 7 to 16-year-olds in New Jersey. So his football academy, he's putting all his energy into helping these young players to try and come through. They might play for the New York Red Bulls. They might play for New York City. Who knows where they might go. But there are far more, let's call them academies, centres of excellence. The Millwall Community Trust, with these Premier League kicks and these programmes, they're just giving plenty of kids an opportunity to A, play football, and B, realise a dream. Loads of young people have these dreams of being a professional footballer. And I always say to people, look at Ian Wright.
Yeah.
Ian Wright is my example. You know, he's playing for Greenwich Borough, not very salubrious down there, in Kidbrooke there, where the pitch used to be, if it's not there, or there, I don't know. But Ian Wright came through as a 23, 24-year-old. He came through a different pathway completely. He got picked up later. So what's wrong? As long as these young players have got the attitude, the desire to work hard, that they really want it, and plus the quality of the coaching. I know it's my son, but my boy does deliver quality coaching to the young people out there. You know, he's grown from sort of like 20 players to about 130 players because of the quality of coaching, because he cares about the kids. So if you put the whole mix into the pot, you've got an attitude and desire of a young person, you've got quality coaching, and you've got all these outlets and player pathways. Clearly you're going to pick up some players along the way from the age of about, let's just say, 16 to 24, as you mentioned. So, and I'd say this as well, Eamonn, there is always someone watching. There are thousands and thousands of clubs out there looking for golden nuggets of players.
Yeah.
And whether they're 16, whether they're 8 years old, whether they're 24, you know, young people just got to enjoy their football, get good coaching, and who knows, one of these pathways might actually bring through a pro on the men's and women's game.
Yeah, let's hope so.
As Phil was saying, sorry, Eamonn, I was just say, as Phil was saying, my grandson's 6, and he's already played at Fulham, Tottenham, Crystal Palace, and Charlton's training grounds where the academies are and whatever. And what I'm getting to is that's opportunities for people to be seen, and that's what Phil's talking about with these other ones like the Millwall Community Trust are doing and that.
Yeah.
It gives them players that have even possibly been through the system already a second chance to be seen again, to be put out there to be seen, and not only that, if they enjoy it and they're enjoying their football, to carry on playing and whatever. And that's the thing. There is far more opportunities now to be seen, because that's what football clubs do now.
Yeah, it is. They line it up. It's good.
And even like your son, although he didn't carry on his career through injury, at least he's enjoying football and giving that opportunity to youngsters as well, and giving his experience over to them. It's so important. It's very
He absolutely
good.
loves it, Debbie. He's in his element. He's 4 o'clock till 8 and 9 o'clock every night. He's got 7, 8, 9 teams at weekends. He's travelling up and down New Jersey, off to Philadelphia, up to New York State with these teams. He absolutely loves it. So,
fantastic. Well,
yeah.
it is. It's a love. It's a love for the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Phil, tell him, don't worry about New York, and he said New Cross. New York Bulls. Tell him to come over. If he got a nugget, tell him to come over to New Cross.
He's actually got some very good players that I've actually seen them play when I've been over there. And I'll tell you, they are under 18 academy standard players. He's got a couple of boys over there, and he's got some girls. They are absolutely outstanding players. And it's just, you know, as the parents got the time and the money to fly them across and take them to Millwall and let the guys have a look at them. But there was
the girls' game's huge out there, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, I think I picked up about just before, let's just say, it exploded, girls' football over here. It was something like we were proud that we had 40,000 girls playing football in this country. At that time, 6-7 years ago, they had 1.5 million playing in New Jersey alone.
Yeah.
So girls' football over there, I think of the 130 odd kids he's got, I think 100 of them are girls.
Fantastic. Absolutely
it's
fantastic.
massive over there.
It is.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Bubbles for all.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Debbie. I'll summarise on that. Well, it's all good for the Millwall Romans. It's all good for the Lionesses. It looks like the Millwall Community Trust are on a pathway to attracting some really, really good people, not only for themselves, but for those other sides that are perhaps around us down in South East London too to pick up on. We will take a break there and hear the fantastic Fanatics and see what they can do with a little bit of help from ourselves. That's all of us that can.
Hi, I'm Richard Gordon, and I'd like to invite you to become a Fantastic Fanatic. Fantastic Fanatics is a great way to raise funds for your sports club. Sign up today, find your club, and securely register your everyday debit and credit cards. Every time you spend with our retail partners, they pay a percentage back to your club. It costs you nothing, and you can win cash prizes along the way. Visit fantasticfanatics.com and help your club be the best it can be.
I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Debbie Julians, Phil Coleman and Ted Robinson, with a Christmas a mere 31 days away. Why not spend on gifts through the Fantastic Fanatics site and give a bonus to the Millwall Community Trust? It will help them deliver the very many different activities that they do across all age groups. Our guest tonight is one of our own, in oh so many ways. He followed in his father's footsteps to become a director of Millwall Football Club from 1986 into 2008. In 2005, he was chairman in succession to Theo Paphitis and was succeeded by the late Peter de Savary. He was instrumental in installing our present chairman, John G. Berylson, in 2007, and remains a shareholder, yes, he's one of the few, and a fan. He is also a member of the Millwall No One Likes Us talking team. Let's welcome the man who really is a legend in his own lifetime, Jeff Burnige. Hello, Jeff.
I wondered who you were talking about.
Hello, Jeff.
Evening, Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeff.
Good evening. This is very strange, being a guest rather than on the panel and having to answer questions, but let's go on. I'm enjoying it so far.
Well, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And I've just got rid of little Sir Echo up there. She was echoing, but that's sorted now. Anyway, Jeff, firstly, what I've mentioned is only half the story, and your involvement in the community and Sport for All has been an important feature of your life, and we're going to explore that to its full come January. But tonight, we will focus on your commitment to one of the first prominent women's football sides within the UK, Millwall Lionesses. What inspired you to get involved?
When I took over the club with Reg Burr and Brian Mitchell in 1986, one of the things I wanted to do was to make sure that Millwall was the best at something, because we didn't have the best team, we didn't have the best sized crowds, we didn't have the best reputation. One of the things I wanted to do was to make sure that Millwall was considered the best in women's football, and that's what happened. And when the new board was formed, the Lionesses came to me in the person of the great Sue Pryor, who was the secretary for many, many years, and they asked me if I'd like to be president. And I enjoyed that, started watching the team, and then about 18 months later, they asked me to actually be chairman. So from then on, I was chairing the committee. That's how it happened.
Wow. Phil?
Yeah, Jeff, I think you touched on some of it there, but tell us the history about how the team evolved from a local fan-based team, which included our own Pat Maslin in the 70s, and having the right person to manage the team in the 80s.
Well, unbelievably, when England won the World Cup in 1966, women's football was still illegal. Can you believe that, how times have changed? The FA finally relented and allowed women to play the game in 1971, and a group of Millwall fans, female fans, formed a team then. One of those was Pat Maslin. I think another was the aforementioned Sue Pryor. They certainly were both involved from very early on, but women's football wasn't all that well organised, but it was steadily growing. And by the time I was involved in 1986, it had begun to take shape, and there was a reasonably well-run Women's Football Association within the FA, but a separate part running itself. I just wanted to make sure that I took the opportunity, as the game was already growing fast, that I wanted Millwall to be number one in women's football. That was what I wanted to achieve, and how we did that, I inherited a good team, a very good manager who'd won the Women's FA Cup before in Debbie Bampton's father, Albert. The administrator was Sue Pryor. There was a committee, but those two people ran the club, and I inherited them, and I was very lucky because they were both brilliant at what they did. It made life easy for me, but I made it clear to everybody that the priority was to make Millwall number one, and the way to do that and get public attention was to win the Women's FA Cup. That was the target from when I came in, and we eventually got that 2 or 3 years later in 1991 and again in 97.
And that's despite having people like Phil Coleman around playing for Millwall. You know, that's what he said.
I thought you were going to say for having people like Pat Maslin.
Well,
sorry, Pat. Sorry, Pat.
She'll be listening.
Oh no, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot there, Deb. I think, but there you go.
Just a wee bit. Just a wee bit.
Jeff, what, as you decided to take that chairmanship, what was the first season like for you?
Well, as I say, we were already one of the top teams. Probably when I came in, there was Friends of Fulham and Millwall Lionesses. We were the two most prominent teams in the south of England. In the north, it was Doncaster Bells.
Yeah.
And there was another team I can't remember the name of that were based on Merseyside, and later became Liverpool. So that first season was just a question of winning the Greater London League, which is what they were in at the time, and having a stab at the Women's FA Cup. And in either the first or second season, we got to the semi-final and lost narrowly to Doncaster Bells, who were, I would say they were definitely number one at the time. So that was the target, to beat Doncaster Bells. And but we won many other cups and things in that first couple of seasons. But the FA Cup was the big target.
Hi, Jeff. I know how much you do for equality of all round. I've known you since I was little, and your late wife, of course, and your two daughters. Were there many challenges for the Millwall fans in the progression of combining the Lionesses with the club, and of course your own personal involvement?
Women's football was not to everyone's taste in the late 80s, and many football fans did not see that it was something that would interest them. But the rise of women's sport was unstoppable. You know, you had great women tennis players, for example, and I just felt that the advance of women's football was inevitable, and I wanted us to be in the lead of it. So our fans were great. I didn't get a single person saying, "Why the hell are we doing that? Who wants to be involved with girls and women playing football?" Those that weren't interested didn't come and stayed away. But generally speaking, the reaction was very good. We staged an England international, I think, in 1989. That was well attended. We played Finland, I think. That was very well attended. But there were no crowds coming to watch the team play. It was mainly parents and the odd person that was taking an interest. But no problem with the fans. And when we won things, and we paraded the team and the cup around the Den, and principally that FA Cup win, we got a great reception. So there wasn't any problem with the fans. The problem was just getting people interested enough to actually go to the games. And that probably still remains a bit of a problem.
Yeah, it's the outstanding thing at the moment, really, getting the numbers. I even remember when we was in the the WSL2, and even playing at the Den, we didn't get really big gates for that either, Jeff.
No,
I'd recommend it. It's very good. It's very, very good to go. It's very entertaining.
It is, but you're quite right, Eamonn. I managed to get a lot of things done, and from the club. The club let me get on with it. The Millwall Football Club was very supportive, but it was all left to me to do it. I don't think anybody else was that interested. But on a few occasions we played at the Den, got some half decent crowds. But when we were in the WSL2, we had a whole season when I was asked to come in as general manager, because I hadn't been involved with the club in a formal way for a number of years, just as a supporter going occasionally. And we played our whole season, perhaps a season and a half, at the Den, and we got some half decent crowds then. I would say the most we got was probably 300 or 400. And then in that last season before the split, which we'll talk about in January, we did get some big crowds, but we got crowds at Dartford, and it was then that the other group that wanted to do something different went off and joined the championship in our place. And the last crowd we got there was about a couple of thousand. We were playing Manchester United, but I would very much like to see the crowds come back and watch the girls, because there's a great story to tell. Everyone knows we got put down by the FA for administrative reasons, right down to the bottom rungs. We're fighting our way back. We're one level below the National League now. Everyone knows we had 10 wins on the trot before the last game, when we lost in the FA Cup to Gillingham in such disappointing circumstances. Lost on penalties after extra time, having been in front until the 122nd minute. It was heartbreaking. But there was a few fans that time. But when we played away at Dulwich Hamlet, there were nearly 500. When we played against Dartford away, they got over 600. So the potential's there.
And what about the Bromley game, Jeff? There was a big crowd.
Sorry, I didn't mean Dartford. I meant Bromley, didn't I? I meant Bromley, yeah. Bromley made a big effort, and they, as I say, there were over 600 people to watch us play them. What was that in? That must have been the...
that was the preceding round.
Of the FA Cup. It was great seeing... And some of our games have been much higher attendances than we get. Fulham away, for example. So there's plenty of scope to build it back up, and I hope Millwall will help with that. It's out of my hands, obviously, but I hope they'll help with that.
Yeah, I'm sure old Sean will create some action to make that happen.
Well, I've got to give Sean some credit, Eamonn, before you let me go. When we did get that relegation, the club handed it over to the community scheme to get it restarted, and Sean Daly has been incredible in helping that to happen. And the club's very healthy. We run under 12, under 14, under 16, under 18, and first team. All those teams are doing well. So the club is now geared to get back to the level that we were at before we had that unfortunate split in 2019.
Yeah. Jeff, from the 70s right the way through to now, your work has been fantastic in what we were talking about earlier, pathways for young people. Primary school girls, secondary school girls, they are all playing football in PE lessons, they're playing for their school team, and now they've actually got a local pathway that they could end up playing for the Lionesses in the top flight. That's reality now for these young kids.
Very kind of you, Phil, but I mean, you lead me to say that in 1992, the year after we won the FA Cup, I actually got an FA licence to run the first ever girls' centre of excellence. And that was the first for, I think we were 5 years ahead of our time there. Yeah. It did help that I was on the FA committee that handed out the licences.
Oh, right.
What Millwall did in the 1990s was to really get football for girls started, because that wasn't the case back in the early 90s, and it very much is now. So thanks, Phil. That's a good point to have made.
It is.
You built the foundations.
Yeah, he's done the foundations, and now he's just putting the roof on the top of it. So that ain't too bad. Look, Jeff, thanks again. It's been great to hear from you, and we look forward to having you back on the panel in a not too distant future. In the meantime, you can hear Jeff's reports here and on Maritime Radio on 96.5 FM. You can also read his weekly reports in the Southwark News, and we all look forward to the serialisation of Jeff's journey with the Millwall Lionesses, which continues to this very day, as you just heard. So bye for now, Jeff, and all the best to your family. I know who support you with all this throughout. Jeff, cheerio, my mate. Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, well, that's lovely of you. That's lovely of you to say that.
Cheers, Jeff.
Bye, Jeff. Take care.
Bye, our star, Jeff.
Bye.
Bye.
There
Bye.
he is. Away with right. Lovely. Thank you, Jeff. Bye. Well, Jeff Burnige, a legend in his own lifetime. Absolutely. We'll take a break there and listen to Bethany Warren talking about how to sponsor or donate to the Millwall Community Trust, because they do a good job too, as Jeff said.
The work of the Millwall Community Trust makes a big difference for people in Lewisham, Southwark and North Kent. Times are getting tougher, and to help them make a difference, you can help too, by making a donation. Give a one-off donation or a monthly amount. Your support is crucial in raising vital funds for their work, or by fundraising for them. If you are running, swimming, cycling, cooking, dancing, parachuting or anything else, why not do it for the Millwall Community Trust? Interested? Then either email inquiries@millwallcommunity.org.uk or phone 0207 740 0503. I'll say that again. Email inquiries@millwallcommunity.org.uk or phone 0207 740 0503. Thanks if you can.
I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have no one likes to talking team of Debbie Julians, Phil Coleman and Ted Robinson. If you can sponsor or donate in these tough times, it will help the Trust deliver all its activities and support the whole community, wherever it possibly can. We're all looking forward to the next game, that one against the USA, I think is the big one. But in the meantime, here are a few matters of specific interest for Millwall fans.
First off, why not watch the Three Lions at the Den in the 1885 Club Lounge when they take on the USA and Wales in England's World Cup Qatar 2022 group stage fixtures. For just £5 for adults and £3 for under 18s, you can back the boys in the company of fellow Millwall supporters. Your ticket price will include one drink, beer, wine or non-alcoholic, whilst a limited menu of hot food will be available to purchase. Tickets for these screenings will need to be purchased in advance on the Millwall ticketing website under the tag events. Tickets will go off sale 2 hours prior to kick-off.
Next week, there is no show at all due to the World Cup and the EFL Championship break. We will return on Friday the 9th of December when Gary will host Bethany, Dave and old Grumpy George. There will be a review of Millwall's trip to Sunderland, a couple of guests and much more too. Don't miss it. Additionally, Millwall host Bromby IF, and I don't know what that stands for, in a friendly match during the World Cup break at the Den next Saturday, the 26th of November. Kick-off at 1 p.m. and tickets are on general sale. Tickets are priced at £10 adults, £7 for over 63s, £7 for 18s to 21s, and £5 under 18s. There are 3 easy ways to buy the tickets. Online at www.millwalltickets.com. Booking fees apply. By phone on 0207 231 9999 and selecting option 1 between the hours of 9:30am and 5pm Monday to Thursday and 9:30am to 4pm on Friday. Booking fees apply. Or in person at the Millwall ticket office.
You heard from our sponsored Lionesses, Jade Keogh and Grace Steely, at the beginning of the show. So why not sponsor a Lionesses kit, like us, to help them get back to where they belong? If you are an organisation, you can get a fantastic exposure opportunities for your business, just like Victory Goalkeeper gloves, Andy Rothery, Impetus Women's Football, Megan, Jay and Lola Baxter, and, as mentioned, ourselves. On top of seeing your name on the club website, you will be able to enjoy a range of benefits. Signed shirts, meet your sponsored player, 3 invitations to a VIP sponsor day, a free season ticket to all home games, and a presentation photo. Kit sponsorship is priced at £160 plus VAT. To purchase, get in touch with the Lionesses by emailing kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again, kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
Thanks, Debbie. There's one issue that I just want to remind people. The club shop is closed. The club shop is closed. It operates under Elite Sports, who are the agents for Hummel these days. Some administrative matters that have to be resolved, and the club are advising that hopefully these matters will be resolved in the short term, but not the best of times with Christmas coming and people wanting to get shirts. So the club shop and the website, there's no orders are being taken at the moment. Don't forget, you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking team bring reports from our games, both home and away, for both the Lions and Lionesses, and also updates on Mill community matters too on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Additionally, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, social media sites, and all popular podcast sites. That's it from me. Good night, Phil.
Good night, Eamonn and Ted and Debbie.
Good night, Ted.
Good night, all.
Good night, Debbie.
Good night, all.
And most of all, good night to our listeners. Finally, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there.